Hey folks, Dr. Brian King here, and I'm in Dallas, Texas, and this is another episode of On the Road with Dr. Brian. And today is kind of an interesting podcast, I would say. I really don't know what we're going to talk about, to be perfectly frank. I had some time before my next tour, and so I put the word out in the Dallas comedy community, trying to reach out to other creative people in the Dallas metro area to see if anybody wanted to record a podcast. I got a couple of responses in, and I got one response from a friend of mine. She's not really a comedian, although she's always been comedy adjacent, I would say. I would like to introduce here in Dallas my friend Sabrina Luna. How are you, Sabrina?
Good.
I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. Blues, women, and blues. I'm here, I'm there, I'm
So
everywhere.
we met a couple years ago. It was during the pandemic at a comedy open mic here in Dallas. Now, for people that aren't familiar, during the pandemic, obviously comedy shows were closed, but Texas, in particular in Dallas, was the first place to reopen offering comedy. I was new in town, and I went to one of these open mics, and I would see you there. You know, you would be at the bar, you'd be watching the show, and I always thought you were just like a comedy fan, you know? Is that?
I am. Yeah.
You are. You're a Wu-Tang fan.
I'm a fan of a lot of things.
So is that what it was? You were just kind of hanging around the open mics or seeing comedy?
Well, so George had posted about a show in Garland. I went, and the rest is kind of history. Like, I just went to see the laughs and to check everything out. And then as I hung around you guys, I kind of caught the bug, right? And then got up and tried it myself.
That's I always think that comedy is actually, it's funny you should wear the Wu-Tang shirt, because I always make this comparison with rap fans and comedy fans, right?
Really?
Yeah, so comedy fans, in my opinion, are all people who would like to be comedians, right? And they think they can do comedy. It's not that difficult. You just get on stage, tell a couple jokes, you know? Same thing with rap fans. Like, I was a big rap fan growing up, and secretly I just wanted to be a rapper.
And I'm glad that you chose comedy. I think this is working better with
you. Were a comedy fan. Let me say this, during the pandemic, I know that was a struggle. There was a lack of things to do, and I don't normally hit the open mic so aggressively, but given that there was literally no alternatives, nothing to do in person, that I found myself wanting to go to all of them every week, you know. And is that how you kind of felt?
That's how I found comedy in my life. I literally had nothing in my life, and I was just like, I need to make this funny and entertaining for myself. So that's exactly how I found the open mics. I was like, hey, that pop spot is open. Let me go check it out.
I mean, honestly, I think everybody was just so struggling for something to do. You know, a lot of those of us.
I'm kind of craving some connection outside of my kids. I mean, to be real.
Obviously there were plenty of people who chose not to join us at those open mics, you know, and you know, lots of people had, maybe they had their other issues, or maybe they had other activities keeping them busy, but you know, that
I did
comedy.
quite a few people along with me, though.
Did you?
Yeah, they didn't seem to have my affinity for comedy. Like, they didn't come back as often, so I just kept coming back. Y'all couldn't get rid of me.
How long after you started going to those open mics did you get on stage? I mean, how long did it take for you to get on stage?
Oh, it was probably about 10 months, 9-10 months.
Yeah.
Well, because I watched stand-up my whole life. I love stand-up comedy. I love comedy in general. So anytime that I go to pick a movie, it's always comedy, and you know, anything that can be funny and make me laugh. And so, especially during the pandemic when everything was so somber, I needed a laugh, and so that's when I found it. But about 9-10 months, I got on stage. I remember the very first time. It was actually at Zach's open mic. Shout out to
our friend Zach Brown, who recently died, actually, unfortunately. But yeah.
Actually, he was the very first one. He did ran an open mic in Fort Worth at some little hole-in-the-wall bar, and I did a whole, I think, 30 seconds. I told like 2 jokes. I got laughs though, and I was like, they thought it was funny.
That's awesome.
And so then I got back up and kept going.
And a typical open mic set would be 3 minutes or 5 minutes. It's funny, but I could see getting up and making people laugh quickly and say, "Okay, I'm done."
Right.
Exiting on a high note. You know what I mean? Like, So were you nervous? Were you real nervous?
Absolutely.
What made
I
you
don't
so
think
nervous?
anybody could barely hear me. This is what Zach told me after. He's like, I don't think the people heard you in the back. He's like, but you made these guys laugh.
Get back on the stage and do it again, just louder. You know?
Yeah.
And how did that feel though, doing this comedy that first time? Usually the bug hits like right at that moment. Like it takes a little bit to push you on stage, but then once you do it, that's going to make or break.
Jump off a cliff, right? You need somebody to push you off the cliff.
Yeah, exactly.
So that you can
And once you do it, that's going to determine whether or not you're going to devote your life to it.
Right.
So
like I found other outlets now for my comedy instead of stand-up. So in my motivational speaking and other endeavors that I have going on, I incorporate a lot of my jokes and just my personality.
So you don't need the stage
as
much.
Yeah. Well, I need a stage.
Yeah.
So
like a platform. You need a platform, but not necessarily a comedy stage.
Right. Absolutely.
But you did that open mic, and then you started doing shows all around the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area, right?
So I did a few shows.
Right. Hey, I don't know. I don't know what was going on with me at the moment, but I think I was either on tour or I left Dallas.
Yeah, you guys were traveling a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did
I missed your whole comedy career.
Yeah.
I missed it.
If you sneeze, you missed it.
That's what I get for going on tour.
Right. Fuck me for having a life.
Yeah.
Well, Anastasia, the Bold, was the first one to give me my shot on at Alexander's restaurant, and I did really, really well. And then Flor Hernandez reached out, and he booked me on a show in Fort Worth at Hyenas in the Red Room, and then that went pretty good. So he booked me in Dallas. So then my career was kind of over.
You made it. You went as far as you wanted to go, you know? Some people are like, one of these days I'm gonna do Broadway, and you're just like, if I could just cover Dallas and Fort Worth.
Complete.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you have the time, throw in Denton and Arlington, but that's...
I actually did do a mic in Denton. So.
Oh, there you go. So then you got the trifecta of the Dallas metro area. Stand-up comedy wasn't for you, but you did enjoy it, and are you still going to a lot of shows? Is that still a part of your life?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know that comedy will never ever be out of my life. I love to watch, and especially all the people that I've met in the scene. I love to support everybody. If you're a comic, you're really like either passionate and you're like in it, or you're gonna be like me where it's like 5 seconds of whatever you're trying to do. But the passion for comedy, where my passion comes in, is I like to see people walk out their passions. So I love to see everybody doing their thing, try to make new jokes, try to progress, try to get better. And I'm not saying that I would never step on stage again, because it's a whole unique experience.
It is.
And I really do want to try it again. But I love to just see everybody, and I love the good vibes that the laughter brings. Because in that moment, everything else kind of falls away.
I kind of have a similar approach, although I still perform stand-up comedy a lot. But I always say, if you really want to get paid at telling jokes, you have to figure out another place to share those jokes,
Right.
And so unless you're just going to be a true stand-up and you've got that kind of talent and you've got that kind of lucky circumstances, it takes more than just talent.
Right.
But if you think about all of our famous comedians, right? They didn't get famous primarily by doing comedy. They got famous by the TV show they booked thanks to comedy, or they got by the movie they booked thanks to comedy, And so I do seminars, I do speaking tours, and I write books, and that has been sort of my parlay of stand-up comedy into a more lucrative living. And you are about to embark on something similar, right?
Yes. So I'm gonna do it's called Speak Your Truth with Miss Jolie. We're gonna be I'm going with her to Minneapolis, Houston, and Oklahoma City. So I have a speech that I prepared called Still Standing. Just talking about kind of my journey in life and overcoming, and how adversity has played such a big part of who I am, and just overcoming has been built into all of my success. So, yeah.
But it's going to be funny, right? Like, it's called Standing Up.
Well, Still Standing.
Or Still Standing. I think you should call it Standing Up.
So, Stand Up? I was originally going to call it Stand Up.
Wu-Tang forever.
Yeah. Not Wakanda Forever. It's different. No, but yeah. So I mean, comedy is always going to play a part in it, just because I think that's naturally my personality. And a lot of the activations that I have planned for the speaking engagement will have an element of comedy in them, because I think that you can be when you let your guard down, as you do with comedy, you have to be a little bit vulnerable to get up there and stand up and make a fool of yourself sometimes, or be up there for 30 seconds and not know what to say and nobody can hear you but they're laughing at you. Yeah. You have to be vulnerable, and that's when you get real, and that's when your guard comes down a little bit, and that's when you can really start to do some work, So.
Yeah, so you're going to be, it's like a one-woman show kind of? Or
No, so it's a number of speakers. It's an all-day seminar.
Oh, wow.
It's actually 2 days.
How long is yours?
In each city. Mine will be about 20-30 minutes.
And who are the, what's the nature of the audience?
So it's going to be pretty intimate. It's I think no more than 60 people. And it's mostly going to be women in each city. So it's all just about motivating. It's entrepreneurial focused. Women like to hate on women. Yeah. So sometimes it can be intimidating to stand up in a group of women and share some things that maybe make you vulnerable. I don't know what to say for men.
I would be intimidated standing up in front of an audience full of women. I mean, oh man, I'm totally going to say the wrong thing.
I will say, when I spoke in the Michael unit, the prison, in front of all men, that went fairly well. I got
Tell me about that. Tell me about that experience. Now, this is related to the speaking tour, right? Like,
no.
It's sort of like
no.
But it's like it's sort of like some experience that's helping you to form your.
So this was years ago.
Presence.
So I spoke. We were on a ministry mission, and we went to the Michael unit, which you might have seen on Netflix because it was on a show where they highlighted like all these.
What was the show?
I think it was like murder or something. Something about murder, but just really bad crimes, right? Because the Michael unit is where you're kind of. It's the higher level criminals.
Is that here in Texas?
Yeah.
Oh, what city?
So. It's East Texas. I don't know what city. It's this very small, kind of outside of everything.
See, I'm not real well versed in the prisons of Texas.
What's wrong with you?
I know, right? I have a good friend who's an ex-prisoner.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah, most of my friends are.
That's true. Most of the comedians in Dallas. I think most of the comedians in Dallas have done some time.
Right. So we went there to do some ministry, and it was quite an experience. I don't know if you knew this, but I was a mentor with the Texas Juvenile Justice Department for a number of years. After COVID, I started to move away from that just because COVID hit, we couldn't visit, and so they still are kind of back and forth with who they let into the facilities now. So it's been a little bit of a challenge to get back in there. But that's kind of how it all rolled together, so just through ministry and things. But it also has given me experience on the speaking side in front of large groups. There was about 100 or so men when I spoke. So. And
these are all like tough prisoners, murderers and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh wow.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's familiar with like the disciplinary level, but they're like level 4.
Is that the highest level, or?
Yeah, before you go into like solitary or separation. Yeah.
So if you could perform in front of them, I think you'll be able to perform in front of a group of women. So this tour that you're doing is sort of the beginning, you think, of like a motivational speaking career?
Maybe. I just kind of roll with things. As you know, I show up to an open mic and then all of a sudden I'm on a stage a little while later. I don't know. So I roll with things. Just kind of like my business. I just one day was like, hey, I'm going to start this business. And we're rolling with that. I have a nonprofit in the works, which I'm really excited about. Hopefully it's going to turn into something where podcasts like this or other people can come into a space that's already set up for them and designed for them per their specs, so that way they can kind of have a home, but that we can rotate it out so that way other people can use it and maybe not have to incur such a big cost of equipment and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. I mean, yeah, you only need the equipment for like an hour. You know?
Right.
So most people, anyway. You know,
Yes.
I have all this equipment, and one of the reasons why we're doing this podcast is because my equipment's just sitting around.
Okay.
So I'm like, I got to do something. I got to be, encourage some creativity. You know.
Right.
But that's one thing I like about you is that you are very entrepreneurial. And I like that when you have an idea. Like all of us do. All of us get these random ideas that pop into our head, and many times it's easy to dismiss them. You know, it's like, oh, I don't really want to do that. It'd be cool to do this, but I'm not gonna. But you do. You follow through. You know, and I'm one of those type of people too. When I get an idea, I pursue it. You know, and I like that.
So you're not scared to fall on your face either.
Well, I mean, there's. It doesn't stop me from doing it. I am scared, but it doesn't stop me from doing it.
Most of my ideas, I kind of like.
Yeah. No, I get every time. Like I'll release this podcast, I'll be like, do I really want to put that out into the world? You know,
right.
Did I say something in there that I don't want people hearing like 10 years from now when they're gonna, rewind everything we've ever. I know it's like, who knows. But I definitely think that all the time. But I've started businesses in the past. I've had different levels of success. You know, obviously I am where I am for a reason. But so you have, what's your business?
It's called Transformation Culture. It's kind of morphing, but it's basically business and creative consulting services. So yeah, and then I'm taking all my corporate experience basically, and I'm just offering it up to people.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what's the nonprofit?
The nonprofit is still in the works. I'm still getting it going, but it's.
Do you have a name, or can we mention the name if you're still thinking of it?
Not the nonprofit yet, but but it's going to be kind of a co-working space, creative co-working space geared more towards just creatives instead of business folks. Because I've been looking for spaces to do all of, walk out all of these creative ideas I have, and I haven't been able to find a space to do it. So I was like, I'm going to create one.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, I look forward to your nonprofit podcast studio.
A co-working space.
It's
kind of like a maker's space.
But you're one thing that you're in luck, because most podcasts or creatives do actually work for no profit. So it's
kind of like comedians.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to make any money off of this thing. But it's a nonprofit service, and so you're obviously going to charge for people, right? I mean, you have to pay your bills,
Yeah. It's not to make money. It's to keep the equipment up
and put it back in the
space.
community. Give somebody a place. Yeah.
Well, and there's plenty of people like I've made a lot of really good friends who are willing to invest certain skills, equipment, all sorts of things into something like that, and to try and help other people. I feel like, especially like, I've met a lot of comedians, I've met a lot of actors, producers, directors, who are all eager to share their knowledge and to help. And so that was surprising, number one to me, but also I appreciate it very much. So I think that the people that I have in mind to kind of move forward with this will be a really important part.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Success, yeah. Collaboration is such a huge part of my walk in general. To have the support of other people like Zach and George and just other people, we had conversations too about structures of jokes and sets and things. So without that support, I would never been able to do it. And the same thing with businesses, and now going into this nonprofit. So
I wish you luck with the nonprofit, and who knows, maybe I'll be filming my podcast at your nonprofit and doing photo shoots and stuff. You know. And
then come to a burlesque show.
That's right.
The next thing I want to try to do.
Are you going to do burlesque?
I have been thinking about it. I've always wanted to take lessons, and I actually helped do sound for a few different burlesque shows, and it's so fun and cheeky and just sexy, and like I want to try it.
Yeah, we've talked about that before, and I think you'd be good, because why not, right? As long as you got the attitude and you do dance. So yeah, I think that'd be a good thing for you to pursue.
Yeah.
Yeah, really do. When you do it, we'll have to do another podcast.
There you go.
And we'll do we'll record it I'll interview you as a burlesque performer.
There you go.
Nice. Yeah.
And then I can dress appropriate.
Oh, nice. Or undress.
Oh, there you
go. You know, is there any place that people can find out about you if they want to follow you or perhaps even attend your gigs?
Yeah. So I use all my personal pages for promotion. So it's just Sabrina Luna on Facebook. My website and everything in the works.
Oh, well, what's the website going to be?
It's going to be for Transformation Culture. It'll just be transformationculture.net. I've been doing so many things for so many other people, and that's kind of where my heart of volunteering and all that kind of stuff comes into play, because I always have so many projects that I'm trying to help out with, that sometimes my stuff just falls by the wayside. Mm-hmm. But it is coming, so then it'll be transformationculture.net.
All right. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, for talking. And folks, thank you for tuning in to On the Road with Dr. Brian. I've been Dr. Brian. Thanks. Bye-bye.
I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. Blues, women, and booze. I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere.